This is Reginal Drummer, the Peopleologist, and welcome to another episode of We Are Ready, where we prepare ourselves for what's going on out there. We always say, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So many things are hitting us every day, every single day. We are bombarded with pandemoniums, uh, uh, depression, uh, recessions, and all that. And then we have to deal with a common thing here in America and around the world: violence. Violence in America. So we're going to be talking tonight about violence in America. We're going to paint a picture. Uh, Hopefully, we can just put some things out there, things just what we can do. That's the bottom line. What are some of the solutions? We know a lot of the causes, we know a lot of what happens, but we're going to unpack it a little bit at a time. Uh, I encourage everyone to like, share, subscribe over here at Square Mile Media Atlanta. Like us over on Facebook pages. We are ready. Those Instagram pages for everybody that's joining us over there. And also, uh, hit that notification button so every Sunday night you'll know that we're live. And check out some of the content that we've got already over at Square Mile Media Atlanta. And we're going to be talking about violence, a history of violence. A lot of times I always like to just throw it out there when people talk about violence. We're talking about violence towards anyone, whether it's bullying, suicides, domestic violence, all of that. One of the things we have to be clear on when we look at uh, just the nature of human beings on the planet, we have a tendency to be violent. This goes all the way back to Cain and Abel, long before video games, long before gangster rap and rock and all that. Man has always been violent towards each other in some manner. And when we look at violence today, no matter where you go, more white people kill white people than anybody else that kills white people. More black people kill black people than anybody else that kills black people. More people in a relationship that know someone in a relationship kill or hurt or maim someone that they know, are familiar with. Even though there's crime everywhere, strangers, but most of the people either have some past experience with the other one. Even though there are lots of random violence where people just pick somebody out of the blue and bring violence to them. But tonight, I'll be joined by a brother that works with an organization, New Order. New Order, Human Rights, and they specialize in going out in the streets, especially when it comes down to violence here in America. A lot of things that happen, whether it be a school shooting, whether it be police brutality, where someone's human rights. And one of the big things about human rights, these are rights that we have as human beings. And uh, Brother Red, how you doing? Are you out there this evening? How you doing, brother?
Doing fine, man. I appreciate you having me on this show as well. Thank you so much.
Yes. It would be. Is no other way we could do it. I would like to let you give the audience just a snapshot of who you are, what you got, how do you get involved with New Order, and what are some of the things you're doing uh, as a group or an organization?
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Again, like he stated, I am Red Fidel. I'm actually national spokesman for New Order National Human Rights Organization under the leadership of Gerald Emerson Rose. And first and foremost, I am a raptivist, meaning that I am a hip hop artist, but I'm an activist at the same time. So I coined the phrase a raptivist. Uh, I'm also a hip hoppreneur, meaning I'm a businessman. I am an entrepreneur in hip hop, from merchandise to things I sell alongside with my music. And the way I got involved was actually through music. I had did a show one time about 4 years ago at a festival, the Malcolm X Festival in Atlanta, Georgia. And after doing my show, I was approached by Mr. Gerald Rose, and he was so taken about my show and the message that I was conveying in my songs, because I've always been a conscious MC. I've always tried to spread the word to my people, and I've always tried to provide lyrics that were enlightening as well as spiritually edifying in my music. So I think that was one of the things that actually captured Gerald Emerson Rose when he approached me. And once he spoke with me, he invited me to to a meeting or so, and immediately I just felt like there was some type of there was some marriage with what he was trying to do alongside with what I was trying to do musically. So I got involved about around 3 years ago, and just a member. But I think that we both saw something along the lines of relativity as far as what we want for our people, how we want to actively engage ourselves and being part of the solution and not the problem. And that's what got me where I'm at now as far as national spokesman with the organization. And as far as what we do, like you mentioned earlier, we definitely are on the front lines of most injustices that take place. So many cases prior to me, and even while I've been with the organization, that we have been involved with is a lot of police brutality cases, things that have taken place, especially in Atlanta, Georgia. And we get a lot of calls from other cities and states that actually entreat us for our assistance as far as legal consultation, legal assistance with matters that a lot of families that are unable to provide or be able to provide that type of assistance, they come to us and we help them out, and we actually go out and really politic and really fight for the justice of some of these individuals. And we've been able to actually get a lot of people cases thrown out. We've been able to actually expose a lot of the injustice of some of the police departments in different cities like Atlanta, Georgia, even in Ohio and places like that. So it's been very efficacious on our part to do what we've been doing. And with that being said, not to be too long-winded, it's only getting better. We're getting stronger. Our numbers are growing, and it's starting to now ricochet and become something that's reverberating in the community, as well as the authority at hand to know that we are here and we are here to fight for our people by any means necessary.
Thank you, brother. And wait, are you from Atlanta area, or where you from?
No, I'm actually not. I'm a transplant. I'm from what we call it the bottom. I'm from Miami, Florida.
What's that down there? Liberty City. That's what's down there.
Yes, sir. I'm from the bottom. It's funny. I grew up. I was raised. I started in Liberty City. My family. That's why I grew up until my elementary years. We moved out of Liberty City when I was around 9, and then I grew up in Opelika. If anyone is familiar with Miami, I grew up in Opelika, Carroll City, which is now I think Miami Gardens Drive. They kind of refaced it like they're doing in all the metropolitan cities all across the United States. They're refacing it, trying to erase our existence or what they deem to be our existence in some of these cities. But I grew up in Opelika, basically. That's my stomping ground.
Okay. Welcome. You're official.
Like a referee with a whistle.
Well, yeah, might get you to drop a bar or two on us if you can a little later, or if you ever feel like just dropping it in there. But when we look here in America,
say that again.
I said when we look here in America, there's a lot of violence, and sometimes one of the biggest questions that we had out in the audience was, is there so much violence that it's starting to get people numb?
Is that a question you're asking me?
Yes, sir. I mean, when you're out there,
I would want to agree with that. Be honest with you. I was just saying this to a comrade the other day, especially regarding the Tyreek Nichols situation, and I think that America itself, especially Black America, we're becoming desensitized and we're becoming numb from the repetitive visualization of that. And it's like we celebrated for that day, or we mourn that particular day, and maybe even a few days longer, but then we go back to our regularly scheduled program. And of course, we don't control the programming. So if we're going back to our regularly scheduled program, we're going back into the program that the programmers are actually controlling. So I don't think that we actually put enough time, and we don't definitely put no action into seeking the justice for that which we were mourning for days prior. So I definitely think we become desensitized. And that also can be attributed to the type of entertainment they show us, be it via movies as well as music. Because when you hear music today, it's pretty much raw and uncut, and it speaks definitely to every lower chakra. It speaks to every vowel concept in our mind. but now that's the entertainment of today. Prior to even getting on here, I was viewing the Grammys. The Grammys is on right now, and just seeing that, if you see the type of images that are being displayed that are actually winning awards, and just to see the masses rove and rave about the type of music that are winning the awards, it shows you the thermostat, it shows you the temperature, it shows you the condition of the mind states that actually are the populace now, and that popular mind state is what's actually prevailing, and it's a sad situation. So to answer your question, to come back to it, I think we are very much so desensitized, but I know that it was something that was planned and put into place for us to do so. Because if we're not desensitized, then I think we'll be doing a bit more. And right now, our people just they got other pressing issues about how to survive, how to live, how to do other things, and those are the distractions at the same time. So I think so wholeheartedly.
Wow, that's because especially, and I take the recent case of Trey Nichols. Recently in America, there has been, like I said earlier, more white people kill white people than anybody else that kills white people.
For sure.
More Asians kill Asians than anybody else. And recently we had a lot of shooting. There was a shooting which maybe uh, two different incidents. I think about 12, at least a dozen or so Asians were killed by two elderly Asian men. And that was a shooting where somewhere out in the Midwest, in not to say like a cowboy bar, 4 white males were killed by a perpetrator. Now, what usually happens is with crimes, we won't see that. Nobody sees the faces of those individuals. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
They show for a minute, they disappear. In the case of Tyree Nichols, those 5 black men that are, we seen them on the video. They actually got you ready for the video. They told you like it was some big event coming. Everything. They prep you, and they have become the face of whether you want to call it black on black crime or police brutality. As a matter of fact, most people can't even remember what the officers looked like that beat up Rodney King back in the day. But those images of those 5 men, even if they accuse 7 more people, if they accuse 7 to 10 more people, the images that we see are those 5 men. And sometimes when they brand images within us, it causes us to have some trauma and some triggers that can cause us to be desensitized. Because, I was listening to I think it was on Fox, and it was actually a black man. I can't even think of the brother's name. Wears the big cowboy hat. He's for lack of a better word, he's not with us. He looked like us, but he ain't with us. But
Okay.
he immediately linked it to black on black crime, all that type stuff. And then rather than look at it as what's causing a lot of the root ills, for 5 human beings, supposedly human beings, to beat up another human being is just something. Some people might say, well, that happens all the time. But most of us don't see nothing like that, especially in law enforcement. We've seen it, man. When you do see it, you try not to let it be the norm, because I'm pretty sure you guys have investigated situations where either one cop or multiple cops either violated the rights of a citizen. So we see that happening. Had a question in the chat. Let's see what we had. I'm looking at a couple. Y'all busy in there. I agree. I talked to a brother who said he didn't see the level of brutality that the news seemed to promote with Tyree's body cam. Do you think the community response to Tyree's death would be different if it were white rather than black police officers? That's a good question.
That's a very good question. I think that I think it'll be, the reaction will kind of be the same like we aforementioned, that we already desensitized. I'm sorry. I think we'll still be a bit numb. We probably be a little bit more Protestant in our protests because again, it'll be that situation where I told you white cops are such and such. We'll feel that whole black white thing. I think in this situation, to add to what you were saying was, I see the 3Ds in a situation like that. I call it the 3D effect. Whereas with the black cops and the black young man who was actually killed in the process, it creates division,
Mm-hmm.
it creates dishonesty, and it also creates disdain for your own people and your own fellow man, especially those who look like you. And I think that not only are they making an example out of these cops, but furthermore it kind of pushes the whole divide with us to some degree. I just think that I don't think we know. I feel like there's more facts that haven't been actually exposed or rendered to the public as to what that whole situation was about. Again, it's unfortunate. I think that it was totally uncalled for, and whatever punishment or whatever ramifications that that happens to them, then so be it. But that needs to be equal across the board. That's my biggest concern. Like I've spoken with Gerald and other people. It's like the equanimity of fairness needs to lend itself across the board despite color. I think that the police only have one color, and that's blue. They align themselves with that blue. They call themselves, in blue, police in blue, the blue uniform. So no matter what ethnic background that you may come from, once you put on that uniform, you are aligned with the fraternity of blue. That's the fraternity, fraternity order of police. And that's just what it is. And they chose to do that. They chose to take that man's life, and they chose to, acting out in their fraternal, barbaric ways. And I think they should pay the price for that, as well as the white officers that do that. And one of the things that I see that's not being played in the media as much is the situation with the white officer, young lady, I think it's in Ohio somewhere or Illinois, that had the situation where it was like three of her black co-workers were fired because they all were pretty much sharing her in a sexual way. It was 3 black guys, it was 1 Latino officer, and it was, I want to say, 3 white officers. So all the black officers got fired. The three white officers got suspended with pay, and also, might I mention, the Latino officer got fired also. So it shows you that those who are brown, those who are melanated, those of color, they suffer the worst degree of punishment, even amongst their fraternity, because the white officer's still there, and they're suspended with pay, as well as her. She still works, and I want to say that she might have resigned, but she resigned at her own cognizance. She resigned under her own volition and will. It wasn't like she was fired. Whereas the black officers, now they got to go home and tell their wives, if they do have a wife or their girlfriends, why they got fired, which actually adds more. It stokes the fire more. So it's a situation where, when are we going to learn? When are we going to learn, my brother?
Yeah, we had to think. Thank everybody. Y'all got a lot of activity in the chat this evening. I can't even type that fast to keep up with you guys. I have to do it later. But I think the black community should demand more accountability because they are black. Also, these brothers, I think 3 of the brothers belong. I'm not going to even call the name, but they belong to a certain Greek letter fraternity.
Okay.
And they had, if you ever seen the brothers that when they play at somebody and they haze them.
They haze them.
Yeah, even though these brothers didn't bring I don't think they intentionally wanted to kill him, but I've seen hazing situations where somebody died. They actually have kicked fraternities off of college campuses for killing people. Whether it's the band or Greek letter organizations. But one of the things we do, we have to hold our people more accountable. And they have to know this, that they might wear the uniform, but at the end of the day, they still look like us. Because you can still get pulled over one night outside of your uniform and be treated just like you treat others while you're in uniform. So, and I've talked to several officers since the incident, black and white, and I sent a lot of respect out there to the good officers. Okay, the good officers, they're out there doing the job, making sure they try to treat people as fair as possible. However, because of the political structure that protects police officers. The system is designed, if they act up, they'll ship them somewhere else. Case in point, and not to pull the sister out, but she was over a unit here in Atlanta that was similar to the unit they had up there called Scorpion, which we know as Red Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, the Red Dogs was just a vigilante group.
Right.
You know, in order police to make it worse, it had personal elements. Yeah, there were personal elements, and you're right, Letitia. So, you would think that officers could put it over here. If they had a beef with you, somebody, you had a problem with somebody from another situation, maybe a girl, because it's allegedly right now, maybe her ex-girlfriend or something like that. You don't see that guy out on the street and say, hey, I'm about to go get him.
Right.
And then you got to think, you pulling these other people in, but see, when you operate like that, where you can get caught up. It's just like when the brothers are pledging, they're not police officers, but they'll take them paddles and beat the hell out you. They take them paddles and them canes, and these are guys they want to pledge. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they get so caught up because I had a friend. Matter of fact, her son, when he was like 20 something, he was like 20 years old, but he had pledged a certain fraternity, and they killed the guy, and he ended up doing time for that murder. It was involuntary manslaughter, but and then he still had to live with the fact that his actions had caused death to somebody. And
Sure.
I think when we look at the black community, uh, I heard that the fraternity had pushed, kicked those brothers out, and some other actions too, because it's like anytime something happens, we should hold people accountable within our community. Now uh, and they shouldn't feel comfortable coming back into our community, So a certain amount of accountability is there.
I agree. Now, when you said the fraternity kicked those brothers out, you speaking of those 3 officers?
Yes, sir. It's
So were they kicked out after the situation or prior to
well
Mr.
after
Nichols? What?
after.
Okay.
And just like you say, the mixed views, because what happened was this. I think it was over on maybe Royal and Martin or one of those shows. But the fraternity had put out uh, a thing to assist those brothers with their legal fund.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they said, hold it. Y'all, it looks like y'all condoning their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got a lot of brothers that's in that particular fraternity. So they came back and said, man, we got to take our hands off of this. Because we can't be, just like when officers do, a lot of white officers, they have somebody that raise money for them. We don't know who it is, but they always got enough money if they should be laid off or whatever without pay. They got the money to take care of the legal fund and their family. So this Greek letter organization, that's what they were initially going to do, because the 5 faces just kept coming up. And then there is a little racism, a lot of racism in there, because we said, well, hold it. They are the face for everything. If they bring in everybody from the police chief all the way down, those 5 brothers will always be remembered for the murder of Tyree Nichols.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even they say it was about 13 what we call public service, whether it be the firemen, the police, or the paramedics. It was at least 13 of them, a dozen or more in the area. So there's going to be some more people that have to be brought in front of everybody, but their faces won't be remembered like those 5.
Right. Those 5 they already stamped down. They already.
Oh yeah, it's a stamp.
It's stamped.
Oh, yeah.
it's interesting because it was 5 or 4, wasn't it? 4? It was 5 guys or 5? No, it was 4.
Five. All
Five.
right.
So my thing, you
What's
mentioned
five?
3. You mentioned there were 3 that was part of the Greek alphabet of fraternity. And see, what I
Mm-hmm.
think what gets me is that not one of those individuals actually said, "Hold up, gentlemen, we're going too far." Where was the compassion?
Yes. Ooh.
Where was the humanity? You know what I'm saying? So that's the part that I sit back and I say, damn, not one of them actually said, hold up, I think we're going too far. And when you look at the
Right.
video, you said, I don't think they meant to kill him. I want to believe that, but then there's a part that's a part of me that says, no, they went so far. It's a time when you could look on a person's face and say, you know what, that's where your humanity steps in. If there's something in you that's humane, and you say, no, this not right. This man crying when he cried for his mother, that was enough for you to say, hold on, let's stop. That was enough right there alone. If you can't, if you
It looked like.
you know what I'm saying, if your heart couldn't adhere to that cry, because that's a universal cry. I don't care what
Oh,
color you are. That's a universal cry when you cry for your mother.
that should have been like George Floyd
Yeah,
coming back in. I don't want to
exactly.
be the one
I don't
that
want to be
causes.
alone.
But
Exactly.
but when we look at a history of violence, and this is in the past with fraternities, not putting fraternities on the spot, but when you involve, I think anything that happens anytime there's a shooting or a killing by the police, I think they should have a drug test. Okay,
Interesting.
immediately. Anytime there's any infraction, they should have a drug test because sometimes you look at the amount of energy that those brothers exerted. They were tired. They were spraying each other. They're supposed to be professionals. They sprayed each other with mace.
That's
It was
something.
all in their eyes.
That was something to think about. Like they was kind of like it's kind of in a rage moment.
Oh yes, yes, no doubt. You
Yeah,
know,
that's something to think about.
and when we think about it, uh, the reason violence is in America is so different because people they get caught up in trauma. The people that have the money, the means, and the material say, you know what, man, these folk are out of hand. We got to throw more money into the system. So we got to have body cameras. We got to have more militarized weapons. Here in Atlanta, 2 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago, there was a young man killed while protesting the building of a police training camp. Okay, it happens to be in the cab, and it's still under investigation. But uh, all the money that people paid for over the last 5 years to get body cameras onto police officers, none of the body cameras were working. So the public has another feedback where they say, how can we hold these people accountable? Because and in the case of the Memphis situation, if it weren't for the cameras that were on the poles, we wouldn't have saw what we saw because that footage is from those cameras, not from when they show the police officers, they squirting water in their eyes, washing the mace out and
Right.
stuff like that. But the brutality part is captured on those cameras, and so we have to look at all that. Oh yeah, the military, a lot of action in the shadow. Yes, there's a lot of militarization, and the public is saying, bring it, because the criminals are so hard, they're so bad, because crime is what it is, okay? But traditional policing can handle crime without all, some cities, I think when we went to Ferguson that time, they had tanks.
They did.
No, yeah. Oh, yeah, they had tanks, brother. And the now and then they said, well, we got to have tanks because the criminal element is so tough that we got to treat them like we at war. And these companies are pouring money into all of this militarization. And then they kind of polarize the nation because on one side they tell people they don't want the police, the criminals don't want the police, the liberal people don't want the police. So we got to build the police force. But the thing is, you want to reform the police. I said earlier, when there's a problem in America, for instance, I forgot what type of airplane it was. They was crashing. people were dying because the airplanes had a problem. And then sometimes they found out that at some points they found out it wasn't the airplanes, it was the pilots.
Wow.
So they had to come up with a better program to get the pilots trained. Pilots were being burned out because they were, flying
So much,
and
right. Right.
get too much. So they started putting apparatus within the airplanes to control automatic pilots and all that type stuff. And they would shut it all down to make that plane, air travel safe again. So we're seeing with police reform, in order to make policing safe again for everybody, uh, you're gonna have to look at certain things and what they do. Now, good policemen are leaving because they being threatened at home. When they come home, I had a young brother. He quit the police force. He had been in there for like 5 years. He said his daughter asked him, "Did you have to shoot somebody today, Daddy?"
Mm.
Daughter's 7 years old, and this is a good policeman. But
Right.
he said his daughter's schoolmates were asking him questions like that. And that brother had a conscience, Oh yeah, tanks on American streets definitely not acceptable. But the good cops are leaving, and the pool in which they have to search from are not really good people. So they circulate a lot of the bad cops over and over. They might lose their job in Decatur, and they show up again in Gwinnett.
In Gwinnett.
And if they mess up in Georgia, they go across the line to Alabama, South Carolina, and that's what police reform is all about. A pilot, if he crashed the plane at Delta, trust me, he's not going to be flying at Southwest.
I think when according to the degree at which a police crosses the line, it shouldn't even be no reform. It should be to where that person can never actually have a badge again. That person should never be put in position. It's certain there need to be levels of reform, like because now we got to get into psychological issues. We got to get into how that person may even perceive the people that they're supposed to serve and protect.
Right.
It's just a lot of issues. I don't think reformation of that person's character in any way needs to even be taken in consideration. I believe they just need to be totally not able to go with any type of law enforcement agency ever again. That's just crazy because that's a sensitive position to have, and it's a very important position to have when you're dealing with, your right to actually carry a weapon, police the streets, and really, it's kind of one where it's your word against the person who you're dealing with in the eye of the law. You pretty much gonna always win when you're dealing with it from that standpoint. I'm very sensitive about that, and then I do realize that criminalization in itself is a big business. So I think you know what I'm saying. So what we're talking about is such a scratch on the surface of what's really happening.
Well, we had a question.
It's a huge business, my brother. And beyond,
I know in a lot of places, boots on the ground, right there in the streets, right there in people's faces.
Yeah.
Does New Order see this as a pattern across America? The militarization. Oh, yes. I mean, maybe you can go into some details on some of the things that you've seen.
For one is the militarization of what you just spoke of. But the biggest thing that we see, that America sees as well, is the police situations. And I think the police situations are in place. And I postulate that it's all part of the programming. And it goes back to what I just said, the whole business of criminalization. Because as they continue to create pipelines to prison for our children from elementary to what it is now, there's always going to be some type of order in place. I think the situation is that even though we're new order, there truly has to be a true new order to the order that's taking place. Things have changed in America and really in the world. And I think sometimes we're combating it with old tactics. And that's fine, because, I am a person of, African mindset, and I believe in Sankofa, meaning one has to know the past in order to move forward. But I can't go to war with a spear and a knife when these folk got nuclear weapons and they got guns that can shoot you from afar. You know what I'm saying? And that also is mental, because war starts in the mind first. So we got to actually get our mentals ready for a new kind of war. And to me, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is my personal opinion. This may not be a shared consensus of thought with even my my party members or my New Order members, but I feel like there comes a time where we need to separate from these folk in order to heal, get ourselves together. I think the whole aspect of amalgamating and integrating into a mindset of this society and the powers that be is going to forever keep us in a divided state. I think that we're not going to have an opportunity to deal with each other in order to heal each other. And there's going to continue to be those 3Ds that I spoke of, that division, that disdain, and that dishonesty and that distrust for one another. And it's just, to me, I think it's a sad event of affairs that's taking place, but it's going to be something drastic that happens, my brother. And it's going to probably rise up with the youth. It's going to be the same youth that's out here destroying, but sometimes in order to build new, you got to destroy old. So we actually, you know what I'm saying? So we're looking at a destruction on another level, man. All we could do is, as elders, is be there and try to assist with those who want to hear. He who has ears, let him hear. He who has a mind, let him listen. It's a big situation, man. And the police going to have to, as far as the good police, my heart goes out to those, because I know a lot of them put themselves in a position where they can't really say anything because of what you mentioned. Could be threats, it could be different things that could jeopardize their well-being as well as their family's well-being. But I think silence and the omission of protest renders one or holds one accountable in a sense of guilty as well. Because if you're part of a fraternity and you don't speak about the evils or the injustices that's pervasive in that fraternity, I mean, then you're just as guilty. So someone is going to have to be the sacrificial lamb and step up and expose somewhat of that. It has to be that, man. And if you're not willing to really be for the cause, then you are be cause. And if you're going to be cause, then that's not going to work. And I think that just leaving the force and leaving it to the heathens and leaving it to the devils out there who actually committing the atrocities to the people, then that's not a good thing either. Somebody going to have to expose it from the inside out. We need that spook who sat by the door that's working with us at this point. Real talk.
And thank you everybody out there, Third Street, Letitia. You can make TV, all you guys. Yeah, we got to check the government budget. More money goes to the police than for human services.
And the prison industrial complex, definitely that.
Yes. Well, you know what? There's a city, matter of fact, near, it might be Camden, man, New Jersey. It's up in New Jersey. What happened? They reformed the police. I don't know the particulars of what they did, but they came in and re-looked at how policing should be done. Okay? By re-looking at what and how policing should be done from a community standpoint, guess what happened? Crime went down. Crime went down. A lot of these cities are paying so much money out for not for crime, but for lawsuits against police officers. Okay, a lot of the city's budgets they pay, and if you look at your city budget, you say, whoa, they bought all this equipment, but look how much they had to pay for hidden lawsuits. And some of these officers have multiple violations. One of the things, I look at things that people can do. If you in the community, I know sometimes it's hard within Black communities because our relationship sometimes with the police is just different. I've been in other communities where, and I just share this with you. I've actually had an opportunity to ride with the police. Now that can bring a bad stigma to you in our community because you almost look like a snitch. Because that's just what it is. People say, "Oh man, you riding with the police," but we need to have, maybe we need to put our ministers in the cars with them, and our teachers, people, so that we can be riding with them when we ride up on certain situations. I think community leaders have to do it. I think one time in Atlanta, that matter of fact, that was when the last time I rode with an officer was they had a special task force that made sure that people got an opportunity to ride with the police. Okay, and I'm not talking about this bad boy. What are we going to do when we come for you stuff? I'm talking about ride with them, see what they do, how they go through. Then that moves and motivated us to understand their position. Most people will be most of us are law-abiding people. You tell us one time what to do, that's what we do. Most of us not out breaking laws, and most people, policemen, are not trying to break heads, kill folk, and all that type stuff. But uh, the stigma that's been put on us, the only way we can change it, we have to interact with each other if we're gonna live here. Unless we do separate, and then we have to be in a position where we police and govern our own selves. Uh, we have to come up with a better model.
I agree. I totally agree. And I do like the concept of you saying that riding with the police. I think that's a great way for us to actually come together so we can get a better idea. But I'm always looking at things from every direction. I could see where that probably wouldn't be so good with today's situations, because you may be with the police and they might get that call that's a shootout or something a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? And what happens is it jeopardizes your life. And
Well, at least you have the option to say, let me out right here. I mean,
so, I feel you, but that's
that
a great
would be my call.
or they should, it'd be a good idea for them to actually visit high schools and
well, they do.
Yeah,
they do. In other communities, the police moves around.
Yeah.
Let me throw this out before I get there. Fulton County Commissioners meeting is planning new jails, and the consultant estimated incarceration could increase 60% in the next 25 years. They need new jails. But going back again to policing, how they do Buckhead versus Bankhead. Trust me, this money that Fulton County is looking for new jails, they're not looking to do it in North Fulton, Alpharetta. No, this is for Atlanta, and it would be, yes, police should. When I was growing up, matter of fact, I knew 5 families of policemen. I knew the Dawsons, the Strains. I can't even think of others. But we went to school together with each other, and their daddies and uncles would come by the school. So my mindset with police was a lot different because I knew police. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And they knew me. But in places where the police don't know you, they drop them in just like they are an attack unit.
Right, like paratroopers.
They drop them in like they the Navy SEALs. They say, well, here's the mission. They said they got drugs. We need to find the drugs, and the way we find the drugs, we stop every car. And that's the program. That's what's happened in these places like Memphis. Matter of fact, Judge Joe Brown is running for mayor in Memphis.
Really?
Joe.
Joe Brown's the mean dude. He be dropping some facts, don't he?
He dropped. That's where I got some stuff. I was like, oh man. They want to build a jail by 2047 that hold 6,000 inmates. I don't know how many they used to have at Rice Street. What's that? Rice Street down here?
Rice Street, yeah.
But 6,000 inmates. They want to build a jail that holds 6,000 inmates. Now, I'm too old to go there, and hopefully I don't even want to think about going there. But these are places that are being prepared for our youth, even as they decriminalize marijuana. Okay, the amount of black males that are be into that system, because we get locked up quicker, faster than anybody else. Either we get locked up, shot up. The numbers for us don't look good when it comes to law enforcement. That's my whole point about trying to humanize law enforcement in the urban or the black community. We need more police officers that, for instance, I was talking to some young men and we put it out over the next 100 days. Say something nice, say something positive to a young black male. Say, hey, how you doing? Don't always hit them with what you up to. Come here for a minute. See, it's different ways that you can create an environment of distrust. You know, if an officer, and I'll just say it, if he's in Buckhead, he's not going to approach a young white male in that same manner.
Not at all.
You know, he's probably have, hey, how you doing, young man? Where are you on your way to? But our young people are greeted with a lot of unpleasant type situation. When people heard how those officers were doing Tariq, that's a typical intervention between a law enforcement officer in what we call the urban or the hard part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
You know, end this, MF that. Hey, I'm gonna shoot you. Those terms are not used in other communities. So I know police know how to turn the switch off, or they know how to get the right police in the right community. So that's where police reform should come.
And that reform should actually lend itself across the board, because our youth need some reformation too, as far as how they see it. You know, and that's the only defense I would give some of these officers who are out there laying their lives, you know, for the community as well, in some degree, especially the good officers. Our youth we have to really teach and train them how to actually speak to officers and actually kind of acquiesce to some form of authority, because you know you have to in this situation in order to make it back home alive in most cases. And I think that a lot of the youth are they're so recalcitrant, and they're so you know, just it's like the mindset is so how would I say, they're so opposing in their values that they don't understand that, you know, sometimes you got to ride the wave instead of going against it. And that's what's happening with a lot of these youth, because as you just read, with the advent of so many jails being built, they already showing you their projection. And with those jails being built, they're getting so much money a person. They're getting up to 30 to 50,000 a head. So you do the math. Let's just say on the low end, 30,000 times 6,000. You're looking at 360,000. You're looking at 360,000 damn near bread that they're bringing in. And like, just let's say, for instance, there was some city, I can't remember right now, but the city, the jail complex sued the city because the city wasn't filling the jail up. Like they said, when they first petitioned, the cities promised that you would have this amount of inmates, and they didn't have it. And you would think,
you know, it's like a Superman say, "Hey, we sell out, and y'all ain't selling out. Y'all ain't selling out. Y'all ain't putting black bodies here." But here's the question, and it's right. You know, we were talking about they dropping police in. You don't need SWAT teams and SEAL teams to do traffic stops. You know, but one of the things was, what does New Order think about Metro Atlanta's response to teen violence and deaths?
First and foremost, we think it's definitely it's an unfortunate nature of events that's taking place, and I think a lot of it starts. I'm gonna be personal. I think the first place to attack that, one thing that we believe, is family values at home. You have to start at home. You have to start at home first. I think that too often we don't know what our kids are listening to, are thinking. We don't know their friends. We don't know the influences that actually gird and surround them once they leave our homes, and that's a big problem. And I used to be in the school system a lot, as far as going to elementary schools and doing the volunteer work. I'm sorry, and I saw such a disconnect between parents and the elementary school staff itself. So elementary schools and all these places tend to be like daycares, and with that disconnect, they don't have any. It's no village effect that's taking place. So to answer the question, and not to digress, is that it's very unfortunate. I think teen deaths are also a result of what they say, the culture. There's a culture taking place now in America, especially amongst our urban youth. That's not, and it's not a culture of light. It's a culture of darkness. That's why even when you hear these kids they say they're on demon time. That's the new thing. They say they're on demon time. And for one, we as one know the power of words. We know once you put a word out, it's like casting a spell. You're willing the universe to actually bring that which you spoke of to light. And if you're saying you're on demon time, then you're actually casting and summoning those particular demons to come into your particular atmosphere in some way or another, be it behavior, be it natural form, be it whatever it is, be it narcotics, however you want to take it. So I think that the demon time culture actually has now summoned a behavior that reflects the very thing that it's professing. And that becomes very nothing. So only thing is going to come from that is what? Death. Only thing that's going to come from that is teen violence, because those particular attributes and behaviors coincide and juxtapose themselves with demon time, juxtapose themselves with the type of rap music that the majority of our youth listen to and our parents allow us to listen to. And on top of that, most of the parents dancing to the music with them and they're twerking with them. You know what I'm saying? So,
right. Well, you just brother, and this is a song, I think it's Colonized Mind, but Prince wrote a song a couple of years. He said, when you upload no fathers, no communication between the young and the old, which is knowledge of self, this is what you get. Now, there are certain things we can do to try to either contain it, because what usually happens, and it's going to happen more so in other communities, because these communities are meeting closer and closer. Just like those five brothers, believe it or not, they're related to somebody you and I know.
For sure.
When you look at Tyree Nichols, it's somebody within we all are 5 to 7 degrees away from somebody that's doing something.
For sure.
Well, what's happening in America now, everything's getting closer. We in a closer world. And that means that it won't be long. You can build these prisons and all this stuff, but it will also create a gumbo that's going to suck everybody in, even the ones you try to protect. And that's why this has to be an action that's with the companies, and this goes to greed. The reason that these companies don't see a problem putting tanks and the Green Beret and SWAT teams and militarization. They can't kill people over in Afghanistan no more. They don't ship new weapons that they didn't want over in the Ukraine. So now they're using those weapons here in the streets of America. Well, at some point, they're gonna get tired of, the line's gonna get real thin. Matter of fact, case in point, there are many people, every time something happens, it's more like black people are the ones that either getting killed, getting shot, getting maimed. One of the reasons they do that is to have the other population not look at what's happening to them. Because out in the Midwest, when you look at Oregon, they got crime out there, and it ain't us. Oregon is 98% white. When you look at different parts, Montana, you say, well, they're youth, that the young people are whether it be meth or some other something, are catching it. And America's not going to be able to put a cover over what they're doing to us as a people, and at the same time protect their own.
That's true, and we got to understand. And we got to understand too that ours is labeled a crime. In those places you spoke of, like Oregon, they're considered community unrest.
Yes.
So the labeling is also a big thing too, and crime is like has this big negative connotation. He's like, wow, crime now itself is a badge of a business. But
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's like community crime stoppers.
Hey, I didn't say crime don't pay, but crime started to pay. And see, it's creeping in every population group. Now they try to see every now and then our crimes like this, like I said earlier, during the same time frame where Tyree not putting his crime that they committed to him, making it small. At the same time, America police force, a military force used to control civilians, have did some damage to other people across America. It's just that this case is highlighted, and they are poor whites and even rich whites that got to say, "Whoa, well, what are they saying about my son or my daughter that got stopped at a traffic stop and got jumped on, beat up?" Well, a lot of this has happened because at some point, bad people, you can't keep badness and evil out. It's gonna creep into your house. Your gate ain't big enough.
For sure. For
You ain't
sure.
big enough to keep it out. It's coming.
That's the natural order. It's going to be
Yeah.
there.
I like that document you guys have there. Uh, and everybody's sharing this. They love your analysis of everything. Uh, Brother Fidel, the information you shared.
Listen, thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
share with them how to get in touch with you, how and what New Order's got going on. Uh, Anything like that, brother.
Sounds great. Sounds great. First and foremost, New Order is definitely working on. We got a new case where we just had a situation happen. Something that the media is not actually bringing to light. But right after the Tyree Nichols situation, we got a call from Houston, Texas. Well, in Houston, Texas, they found a young black girl hanging from a tree. These are the type
Wow.
of situations that we're having now, right in present day living, present day America. They're still doing stuff like that where they're hanging us from trees and doing stuff like that. So we're now pursuing that case. I want to say Brother Gerald was going out there, but when we get more information, we'll definitely be ready to disclose that. We just want to make sure everything is on the up and up. So that's something we're working on now. Just got a call from another situation. I want to say that was in Ohio or Chicago, somewhere out there. So we're looking into that. But the more focus is on the situation in Houston, Texas, with this young lady being found, black woman, her mother found her hanging from a tree, and that's beyond foul play right there. But the Tyrese
Yeah.
Nichols situation is kind of overshadowing everything, and it's also overshadowing the fact that Brett Favre swindled millions from our people. It's overshadowing so many other situations that need light casted on them cockroaches.
Ooh. They still
So
ain't got no water in Mississippi.
exactly. So with that said, not to belong to time, I can be reached at on Instagram at Red Fidel, and Red is spelled REDD, Fidel, like Fidel Castro, FIDEL. I can also be reached on Facebook the same way at Red Fidel, and on YouTube at The Real Red Fidel. And like I said, I'm also a musical artist. That's the foundation of what I do. And I'm also a raptivist, and I'm an actor as well. So I have some short films that I've been working on, and got another one that I'm currently up doing right now. So, but
Mm.
this right here is what I've always been involved with. Seems like I can't escape speaking my point of view, but but it is what it is, and all those who out there, God, I can't. I want to say it slipped my mind for a minute because I think the number's still the same. But if you can go to New Order National Human Rights Organization.com. Will be I think it's www.nonho.com. We'll be if you want to be involved, if you want to donate to the organization, we are a 501c3 charitable organization, so all donations are tax deductible or writable, so you can write those off. And feel free to get involved. Feel free to see what we're about. I think that once you see the organization, if you're a person that wants change and doesn't want to be a part of the problem and want to actually become a component of solution, I implore you to not only check us out, but check out any organization that's actually putting their actions where their minds and their thoughts and their mouths are, and become involved, because that's the only way that we're going to solve this problem. We need to solve it through village cohesion, through mental cohesion, and togetherness, and that's important, because as you can see, America is really a prison country. It's becoming a prison country. It's becoming a country that's based on its prison industrial complexes and every other thing that's taking place. So we definitely need to fight that, and fight for the minds and the spirits and souls of our children, because they truly are our future and they are us, because we're going to be gone. And the only thing that's going to be left are the children that we didn't actually inculcate and put that information into, so they can actually rise to the occasion, not become components of the machine. And that's very, very important. That's what's happening at an alarming rate. And we need to really, really pay attention to that. For real, we really need to pay attention to that, because
Yeah.
it's a plan at place, and it's a spirit at place too. For those who may be spiritual, for those who may be religious, no matter what your ideology is, you need to pay attention to that. Spiritually, them folk playing behind the background as well. They understand spiritual alchemy. They understand how to do persuasion on a whole nother level. They could talk to you without talking to you, because everything is images. Because McDonald's by what? The golden arches. It ain't like it's speaking to you. When you see the sigil, them arches, it's McDonald's. So pay
Mm.
attention to the things that are in your subconscious mind that are controlling you. It's very serious out here, my brother. And I won't go on my soapbox into that. That's
Oh,
good.
back.
With some,
But we
say
don't
that
have to
for
bring it back. You know, see what you're sharing is so powerful, man. Because see, we have to equip ourselves because the weapons,
the way. Yeah.
spiritual, mental, physical, all those weapons are being used against us, and they use in such a way. Because sometimes we say, man, it's like people doing things that back in the day you could not believe people would be doing some of the things they're doing today.
No, you
But
could.
you can believe whatever somebody can think of, it is happening as we speak.
Right.
Everybody out there, this is Reginald Drummer, the Peopleologist. Definitely welcome to another episode of We Are Ready. Thanks to our guest, Brother Red Fidel from New Order, a
Thank you
human
for having me, my brother.
organization.
Thank you for
Oh,
having
man,
me. Come on, anytime you need me on, let's chop it up. Let's do it.
oh yeah, y'all got an open door policy, brother. We're gonna do a chat with some men too. We got some of that coming. We won't do nothing
Oh
next week.
man, I look forward to it. Let's do it, man. Bring
We
some
got
more
a lot of,
minds, some powerful minds
yes,
bring them
yes,
in.
yes,
Yes,
yes, yes,
yes,
brother.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
we encourage everyone to like, share, subscribe over here, Square Mile Media Atlanta. Put it out to your family, friends, and loved ones. And during this time, don't give up. Stay vigilant, stay active in your community. This is Black History Month. So one of the things we definitely encouraging people to do is do some studying about someone in history. Don't wait until somebody else has to tell the story. Start talking to your family members, your loved ones. Let them know something about someone that you research in Black history. Uh, with that being said, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Stay focused. And you know what we say over here? The secret of walking on water is just knowing where the rocks are. So let's find those rocks and walk that way. But anyway, take care. Love you like God loves the world. Make it a great day.